Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing. Welcome, survivors. This is Eerie Night of the Pseudo Posse, and the base I'll be showcasing today is absolutely amazing for sniper builds and even melee. The core idea is rather simple, but inventive, and I could not have done it without some suggestions from my community to explore some of the core block shapes vital to this design. While the design is incredibly powerful for snipers and melee, certainly the core design could be tweaked to do all manner of hilarious shenanigans, but I'll leave that up to you, the viewers, to draw inspiration from the presented design. I'll also present a tweaking of the design that works 99% as well as the solo version of the base and allows for more than one person to benefit from the power of these shape combinations. Let's get to it. First thing you'll notice is no pit, no 15-meter block drop, no destroy everything mode zombies. This base is small, compact, and does not require anti-rage mechanisms to prevent zombies from bashing in your blocks. The beautiful aspect of this base, since it doesn't require a lot of blocks, is that it can be built early game and upgraded through the mid to late game. And while I mentioned sniper builds absolutely rock here, any ranged weapon will do incredibly well, especially when combined with armor-piercing rounds, once the player has access to those. So how does the base work? You'll immediately notice that zombies, despite having nightmare running speed, are moving incredibly slow. No electric fence posts, no barbed wire from alphas past, no discernible shape or block we are all accustomed to using or have used in the past. There are three shapes that make this possible. First, the ladder. Any ladder shape will work, whether it be the ladder round, ladder square, or the scaffolding ladder. Doesn't matter at all, so I just chose the ladder square. The second shape is the gable inverted steep, which needs to be placed such that zombies move over the V profile of the shape. The third shape is the cube 3/4 on top. Essentially, it is built in the same way as a crawling corridor, but instead of the full cube on the bottom, replace that with the gable inverted steep, and instead of one block empty gap between the bottom block and the cube 3/4 on top, put in your ladder against the wall in that space. The combination of these blocks force zombies to slowly move across the path, except the spider, which can jump over it. But all others move so slowly that you have ample time to take them out with your ranged weapon of choice. The best part is zombie heads are clearly visible, and since they move so slowly, you have figurative days to just pop heads over and over again with ease. Actually, maybe the best part is probably the fact that despite zombies collecting in large numbers within the corridor, they rarely take the opportunity to beat on the walls. They just slowly and consistently march forward and do not beat on surrounding blocks, completely negating the threat of infernal zombies late game. And if you let them get close, simply take out your spear or other melee weapon and take the zombies out at close range. I methodically tried replacing each of the three blocks one at a time, and no other block combination produced this perfect result. Some alternatives got kind of close, but nowhere near as good as this setup. Since this adjusts the design from the normal zombie crawling corridor actually doesn't force zombie crawling, demos can freely enter so you don't have to worry about him getting stuck on the inside and bashing your blocks. Dogs and direwolves can also easily come inside, making the base invulnerable to those zombie types. Now, during my testing, I discovered a few nuances that can break the design of this base, so watch closely as to not repeat those issues. First, at the entrance, make sure there isn't a ladder on the first block within the corridor. This will prevent zombies from entering. Secondly, you'll need to make the following adjustments to ensure demos can enter despite being able to walk upright once inside. First, replace the cube 3/4 shape with the wedge narrow middle. Secondly, do not place a full cube out front. In fact, even a cube 3/4 doesn't work to ease the demo inside. Instead, use the gable inverted steep end and rotate it flush with the other gable shape used along the length of the corridor. This will allow demos entry into the base. You will still need to place your shots correctly, but as long as you carefully aim for the head, you will have zero issues. On the other end of the base, the player is protected by the cube 7-meter round catwalk rails only 0-1 shape, as it blocks cop spit and allows the player to easily melee and shoot through it. My friend likes to call this block the squiggly shape for short, which I think is an appropriate shorthand for it. But I think the noodles or the noodle shape could also work. If you guys have any good block nicknames for this shape, please leave your suggestions in the comments. Anyways, The block does suffer from the weakness of zombies being able to squeeze through it if too many zombies are pressed up against it. But as long as you are actively shooting downrange, zombies won't ever accumulate enough to be a threat. The player also stands, or rather crouches, elevated on a cube half shape. Crouching aligns the player really well with the shape to get easy headshots and to melee in between the noodles or squiggles. If you want to do this more as a melee style base with some potential limited gunplay, I'd highly recommend not using the design demonstrated here with the solid floor at the end. Again, the squiggly noodles suffer from the zombie squeeze, so consider adding a zombie dropper like the pillar 0.025 meter half side centered. Remove 2 blocks immediately in front of the squiggles and replace with 2 of those pillar shapes, rotated to have the maximum sized gap in between. And since we sit so low to the ground, a 3 block drop. We don't have to worry about the zombie rage destroying blocks after they fall. Above 3 blocks you do, but not here. Now I did try to get cute and force the zombies dropping to fall into a crawling corridor and crawl towards the entrance coming out of the sides of the stairs to the base. However, since the corridor is directly on the ground, zombies would rather just bust out of the walls and run towards the stairs. How rude! This design would absolutely work if you elevated the base higher so the bottom corridor isn't sitting on the ground. But if you want to build it low to the ground like this base presented in the video, just leave an open space for zombies to come out after they drop. You could even force them through another quarter of gable inverted steep after they drop if you elevate the base, and maybe even have a player positioned down there to shoot at them while they do so. Plenty of options for this design. Anyway, enough theory crafting. The whole point of this alteration was to allow for the player to knock zombies out of the corridor if they opt for a more melee-heavy style of gameplay. Since you won't be killing zombies as fast with a ranged weapon, you'll need a way to clear out zombies that take too long to die, especially infernals and charge, to prevent them from squeezing or busting through your defenses. And since the space is rather tight, the pillar shapes we used work perfectly in this space. While the narrowness of this design is an advantage as it forces zombies into a single width corridor to make headshots a breeze, it isn't conducive to playing with multiple people. Each person will just get in each other's way. So how could we adjust the design to work with more than one person? Originally, I was thinking to make some side platforms for one player to attack through the corridor walls, or something maybe up above or below so one player could hit from the top or below. That ended up being completely unnecessary. And funnily enough, the design works even if you just double the size of it. Instead of one line of gable shapes, plop down 2, put ladders on each wall, and Bob's your uncle. That's a thing people say, right? Basically, for you non-native English speakers in the audience, it just works. Somehow. Zombies will path into one of 2 lanes and pretty much stay put. And still, for reasons, move slow within their lane despite all the extra space to their side. How magical, right? My best guess for why this block combination works is the gable shape forces zombies in the middle and doesn't allow them to really move side to side. The ladder has kind of a clingy effect, forcing zombies to grab it, but not really as they continuously move forward, albeit slowly. As for the cube 3/4, it's just the right size for zombies to stand upright while being low enough to force zombies to stick to the ladders. Anything smaller than the cube 3/4 and zombies will just run right through it. This base doesn't require much of a build guide because it is so simple, but here is how to build the important elements of the base. I built the gable inverted steep path 5 blocks above the ground level. Feel free to go higher or lower than that depending on your personal preference. Add some stairs in front of that to lead to this path. I used the cube half corner 0-2 shape alongside of the gables to provide support for the walls on each side. Top that with cubes 2 blocks high on each side. Next, fill the inner wall on one side with ladders, but do not place a ladder on the either end of the corridor. Top the corridor with the cube 3/4, but make the shape at the entrance the wedge narrow middle. And below that, use the gable inverted steep end, which will help guide demos inside. You can use any shape you like to prevent zombies from climbing over the top of the base. I decided to go with pillar 1 meter shapes 2 blocks high, with the higher level pillar extending 1 block further out. I capped those off with the pillar 1 meter cap just for aesthetics. I used various pipe shapes to continue the motif I had going on top, but that isn't important to the design. For the fighting platform, place the squiggly noodles in the space where I told you not to place a ladder, rotated toward the player side. You can fit an extra shape on the other side for added defense. Along the floor, place cube half to elevate yourself for easier headshots and melee attacks. The rest of the platform can be designed however you want. At a bare minimum, enclose it and top it with spikes for vultures. Anyways, I want to shout out all the people in my YouTube comments and my Discord community server. While not all of you were directly involved in theory crafting this particular design, many of you have come up with excellent design suggestions and tips that have given me lots to think about and apply my methodical approach to testing. Several of your recent comments and suggestions have in part or fully inspired past videos, and some of the recent ones since the 2.0 update. I always run my tests on insane difficulty, nightmare speed at high game stage to put each design through the ringer and give it the worst case conditions. Many designs will work at lower game stages, but once you ramp up the difficulty and introduce infernals especially, things can get very dicey real quick. That'll conclude this video, folks. Hope you all learned something new and use this setup to slow down the Horde for easy kills. Who needs electric fence posts, am I right? Thank you all so much for watching, and give the video a like if you enjoyed the content or just want to help the YouTube algorithm out. And if you aren't a member of the posse already, commit already and hit the subscribe button and tap the bell for notifications so you won't miss the next video. Finally, I want to thank all of our Patreon supporters whose generosity powers the channel and is fed back into the community, most recently with the acquisition of a 7 Days to Die dedicated server. For more information, join our Discord channel, link in the description. On that note, this is Eerie Knight signing off. See you all in the next one.